In this episode, we look at the purpose of meditation. Get excited because this is Tiny Leaps. Welcome to another episode of Tiny Leaps, Big Changes, where I share simple strategies you can use to get more out of your life. My name is Greg Clunis, and in this episode, we are looking at the purpose of meditation. So this is an interesting topic. We talk a lot about meditating and what it does for you, how it can help you, how it can improve the quality of your life, how it can improve things like anxiety and stress, and your ability to deal with different issues that you might be facing. We talk a lot about that, but we've never really gone back to the root of why we meditate and sort of what it is we are looking for in that meditation. So in this episode, we're going to dive into that purpose and talk more about the actual core of the issue, instead of just, here's why you should meditate or what meditation is going to do for you. We're going to look at the purpose of that meditation and what we are hoping to get from it. So this should be a super, super good one. Now, before we jump in, I want to talk about today's sponsor. This episode of the podcast is sponsored by Surfshark VPN. Surfshark is a VPN service that makes online privacy protection easy and attainable. Surfshark encrypts all internet traffic sent to and from your devices and ensures that your IP address remains hidden to make sure nobody can see what you do online. On top of that, they block ads, trackers, malware, and phishing attempts. And unlike other VPN services, you can use it on as many devices as you'd like simultaneously. Here's something you might not know about me. I'm a massive fan of the UK reality show Love Island. A few months back, I finished all 5 seasons of the UK version when I learned that there's also an Australian version, which sounds amazing. Unfortunately, it was only available on Hulu in Australia at the time. Now, if I had Surfshark VPN back then, it wouldn't have been an issue. All I'd have to do is log in, switch my location to Australia, and bam, instant access to all of the cool stuff they get to watch that just isn't available here in the US. You'll never have to worry about being region locked ever again. And the most exciting part about this is that it can help you save money when you're traveling. All these travel sites, right? They know where you are accessing it from and how likely you are to purchase a ticket at a certain price. People all over the world see different prices for the same flights. Crazy, right? With Surfshark VPN, just change your region and shop around for the lowest ticket price. But don't take my word for it. Try Surfshark VPN out for yourself. Head over to www.surfshark.deals/tinyleaps and use my promo code TINYLEAPS at checkout to get 83% off and an extra 1 month free. That's www.surfshark.deals/tinyleaps. Okay, so let's dive into the purpose of meditation. One of the big things that we get from meditating, from sitting and taking the time to focus on our breath, to go internally, to get a better sort of calmer view on situations, is that we allow ourselves to develop a better sense of self-awareness, right? In the process of meditating, in the process of sitting with yourself, analyzing and looking at your own thoughts, recognizing the different thought patterns that you fall into over time, and just looking at who you are as it relates to your practice, as it relates to the thing that you are engaging with at that moment, that meditation, that breath. It gives you a perspective on yourself that you may not have otherwise. Because in our day-to-day lives, as we go through those lives, we're just sort of constantly from the next thing to the next thing to the next thing, right? We're just jumping from thing to thing. We're thinking about a million different things. We're putting ourselves in the future and thinking about what's for dinner, thinking about our vacation that's coming up. We're just all over the place. We're not really ever with ourselves. And that lack of time with ourselves leads to a lack of clarity around who we are and what it is that we want and what it is that we need. In that meditation, in that practice, we slow down. We force ourselves to acknowledge who we are as people. We force ourselves to acknowledge the things that we want, the things that we desire, and where our mind naturally goes. Now, that doesn't mean in the actual meditation that we chase those things, because a big part of the goal of meditation is to be quiet. It's to be in that quiet space with yourself. So we don't chase the thoughts, we don't chase the recognition in that moment, but it does stay with us. We do recognize it, acknowledge it, and later on during the day, later on in life, those things become more and more valuable. So that's the first big purpose, the first big reason for meditation is simply that it helps us to develop self-awareness. And I've talked about on the show before that self-awareness is incredibly important. In fact, there's an episode titled The Importance of Self-Awareness that I recommend you listen to next. Now, the next major benefit of meditation is that we create room for growth and change. Now, what do I mean by this? I talked about before how as we go through our lives, we're busy. We're thinking about a million different things. We're doing a million different things. We have all of these goals. We have all of these requirements, things that people need from us. And in that, not only is there no time to sort of be with ourselves as we currently are, there's also no time to recognize who we want to become and to be crystal clear on what those goals actually look like for ourselves. Meditating and taking that time each day or however frequently you do it forces us to acknowledge that that space is not currently there in our day-to-day lives, but it also forces us to make space for it, right? We cannot grow and we cannot change if that space does not exist in our lives. Now, I don't necessarily mean the physical space, though some people do that. Some people will throw out old things in order to create space for the next thing, or some people will cut off toxic relationships in order to create space for the good ones. And if that works for you, then go for it. What I'm talking about here is mental space. What I'm talking about here is that internal space of recognizing who you are currently, that self-awareness, and where you want to go. And ultimately, recognizing the moments throughout your day when you can take the actions that take you in that direction. Because meditation in that quiet, in that calm, it allows you to see things more clearly. It allows you to recognize what time is being wasted, what time isn't necessarily being used doing things that you are happy about. And at the end of the day, we're only here once. We probably only have a single life to live. And if we are spending the majority of our time doing things that legitimately make us upset and frustrated, then something needs to change. But we can't always recognize that if we are in it, if we are focused on the actual day-to-day grind and never giving ourselves the space we need to make that recognition. Additionally, as you meditate, you allow your mind to become more pliable and accepting of change. And this happens partially because of how meditation functions and all of the different scientific aspects of it, which if you're curious about, you can go listen to, I believe, episode 3 or episode 2 on the effects of meditation. It's one of those early episodes. But meditating does make it easier for our brains to take in new information and make it easier for our minds to sort of change with what is necessary in order to move forward rather than holding on to the past and holding on to sort of what has always been. And then finally, one of the third big purposes of meditation is to develop a new and larger perspective. That time in the quiet, and I've talked about this before, sort of the power of quiet, the power of sitting in silence and just being observer at life. That time enables you to see things more clearly, whether it's the day-to-day issues that you're dealing with, relationships with people around you, things that other people are dealing with, whatever it might be. That quiet enables you to recognize those things and acknowledge them in a different way. So one of the things that meditation allows us to do, and honestly, one of the end goals should be gaining that new perspective, looking at the world from a different lens so that you can make different decisions around your life and around the people that you are engaging with by continually putting yourself in that quiet time, in that back and forth struggle between losing yourself to your thoughts and focusing on the present moment of the breath. By putting yourself in that battle over and over and over again, you start to recognize things about yourself and things about the world around you that maybe were always there, but you've never acknowledged. Maybe were things that you knew subconsciously, but you've never brought to the surface. And that gives you a sense of power that you can apply in your day-to-day life. That gives you a sense of understanding that you can apply in your day-to-day life that is incredibly important and enables you to really grow as a person and help those around you to grow as well. So if your goals are to better understand yourself and create a better life for yourself, if your goals are to improve and change and become a better version of who you are, and if your goals are to gain different world perspectives and understand more about your place in the larger world around you, then I highly recommend that you start building a daily meditation habit. And this can be super simple. I've been sort of rebuilding my daily habit recently, and I just put on a timer for 2 minutes. And in that time, I just sit in silence and try as hard as I can to keep my focus on the breath. And the thoughts pop up, they try to pull you away, but that battle, that internal fight back and forth between staying in the present moment of the breath and time traveling through your mind, through your thoughts into all of these different places at all of these different times, that battle, that struggle will help you in your day-to-day life, even if it doesn't feel like you are, quote unquote, doing it right. So I hope this is helpful. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to click subscribe wherever you are listening or watching this. Head over to YouTube if you haven't already at youtube.com/Greg Clunis and drop a comment on the video for this episode. Thank you again. And remember that all big changes come from the tiny leaps you take every day.